Deep in the African savannah, under the relentless sun and gentle whisper of the wind, nestled a small village named Ntabo. It was a place where lush greenery met rolling hills, and the soothing sounds of the Zambezi River created a natural symphony. The people of Ntabo were celebrated for their resilience, their stories interwoven with bravery, wisdom, and the mystical touch of the divine. In this village lived a man named Madu. He was a robust and sturdy farmer, his skin deeply tanned by the sun, and his muscles sculpted by years of hard work. Madu was a man of few words, but when he spoke, his voice carried the authority and power of a lion's roar. His farm, one of the largest in Ntabo, was a testament to his dedication and tireless work. Madu had everything a man could want: a thriving farm, a sturdy home, and a loving wife named Nia. Nia was as beautiful as the first light of dawn, with eyes that sparkled like stars, and a heart as gentle as a spring breeze. They had 3 sons, Chima, Obi, and Kofi, each strong and healthy, a blessing to any father. But Madu's heart yearned for something more. He longed for a daughter. This desire gnawed at him like an insatiable hunger. He often watched the village girls with their mothers, their laughter echoing like the sweetest melody. He imagined his own daughter, a little girl with Nia's eyes and strength, bringing joy and balance to his home. But as the years passed and Nia bore him no daughters, Madu's longing turned to bitter frustration. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, tinting the sky with shades of orange and purple, Madu sat outside his home, his heart heavy with longing. He watched Nia play with her sons, their laughter intertwined, and sighed deeply. "Nia," he called, his voice thick with emotion. "Come sit with me." Nia approached, her face still glowing with the joy of laughter. She sat down beside him and placed her hand on his. "What troubles you, Madu?" she asked softly, her eyes filled with worry. "I long for a daughter, Nia," he admitted, his voice heavy with longing. "I feel a void in our family without a girl. I have prayed and waited, but still the gods have not blessed us with a daughter." Nia's heart ached for Madu. She knew how deeply he longed for a daughter and had joined in his prayers. "Madu," she replied gently, "the gods have blessed us with 3 wonderful sons. Perhaps we should be content with what we already have." Madu shook his head, his frustration evident. "No, Nia, I will not find peace until we have a daughter. I will pray harder, offer greater sacrifices. The gods must hear my plea." That night, Madu knelt at his bedside, his hands clasped tightly together. "O great spirits of our ancestors," he prayed fervently, "hear my plea. Bless me with a daughter, a girl who will bring joy and balance to my home. I will do anything you ask, offer any sacrifice. Just grant me this one wish." Days turned into weeks and weeks turned into months. Madu continued his prayers, and his sacrifices became more extravagant. He offered the finest fruits of his harvest, the choicest meats, and the most beautiful flowers. Still no daughter came. One fateful night, as Madu slept, he had a vivid dream. He found himself in a lush green valley, the air thick with the scent of blooming flowers. Out of the mist emerged a radiant figure, a woman whose skin glowed like the moon and whose eyes shone with the light of 1,000 stars. "Madu," she called softly, her voice like a gentle breeze. "Why do you trouble yourself so?" Madu fell to his knees, recognizing the divine presence. "Great Spirit," he said, his voice trembling with awe, "I seek your blessing. I long for a daughter to complete my family. Please grant me this one wish." The spirit smiled, its gaze softening. "Madu, your prayers have been answered. You will have a daughter, but remember, a blessing is only a blessing if it is received with gratitude and humility. Cherish what you have been given, and let your heart be filled with love." Before Madu could respond, the vision faded, and he awoke with a start. His heart pounded with a mixture of hope and fear. Had he really been visited by a spirit? Would his prayers finally be answered? As the months passed, Nia became pregnant again. Madhu's heart swelled with anticipation. He prayed fervently, hoping that this time the child would be the daughter he so desperately wanted. One stormy night, as the winds howled and the rain pelted their home, Nia went into labor. Madhu paced outside the hut, his heart in his throat. The midwife's chants mingled with Nia's cries, creating a symphony of pain and hope. Hours later, the cries of a newborn filled the air. The midwife emerged, her face radiant with joy. "Madhu," she said, "come meet your daughter." Madhu's heart leapt. He rushed inside and his eyes fell on the tiny, wriggling bundle in Nia's arms. She was perfect, with a tuft of black hair and eyes that shone like the night sky. Tears filled Madhu's eyes as he knelt beside Nia, his heart overflowing with love and gratitude. "What shall we call her?" Nia asked, her voice a weary whisper. "Nyasha," Madhu said, his voice choked with emotion. "She will be called Nyasha, for she is a gift from the gods." Nyasha blossomed into a bright and spirited young girl whose laughter filled their home with joy. Her boundless curiosity and generous heart endeared her to all. Madhu loved her dearly, spending countless hours playing with her and teaching her about farming and the traditions of their people. But in time, a subtle but dangerous change crept into Madhu's heart. The joy he once felt turned into an insidious pride. He began to see Nyasha not just as a blessing, but as a testament to his own importance. Madhu convinced himself that he was uniquely favored by the gods. This change in perspective affected his relationship with his sons. Madhu became increasingly harsh and demanding, often rebuking them for the smallest of mistakes. "Why can't you be more like your sister?" he would scold. "Nyasha is a blessing, a gift. You must strive to be worthy of it." This created a rift in the family. Chima, Obi, and Kofi felt deeply their father's growing contempt, their hearts heavy with the loss of his affection. Nia watched the rift with a heavy heart, trying to mediate and keep the peace, but Madhu's pride only grew stronger. One evening, as the family gathered around the fire, an old man approached their home. He was a stranger to the village, his clothes worn and his face lined with age. Yet there was a wisdom in his eyes that seemed to transcend time. "Greetings, Madhu," the old man said, his voice harsh yet authoritative. "I am a traveler seeking shelter for the night. May I join your fire?" Madhu nodded, though cautiously. "You are welcome, elder. Sit and share our meal." The old man sat by the fire, his eyes studying the family intently. He seemed particularly interested in Nyasha, who sat close to her father, her eyes wide with curiosity. As they ate, the old man spoke. "Madhu, I have heard of your great fortune. The gods have blessed you with a daughter, a rare and precious gift." Madhu swelled with pride. "Yes, elder. Nyasha is my greatest blessing, a gift from the gods themselves." The old man nodded slowly. "A blessing indeed, but remember, Madhu, with blessings come responsibilities. Pride can turn even the greatest gift into a curse. Cherish your daughter, but do not let pride consume your heart." Madhu bristled at the old man's words. "I am proud of my daughter, and rightly so. She is special, chosen by the gods." The old man's eyes darkened. "Beware, Madhu. The gods are watching. Do not let your pride blind you to their will." With that, the old man rose and disappeared into the night, leaving Madhu to ponder his cryptic words. Despite the old man's warning, Madhu's pride only grew. He began bragging about Nyasha to anyone who would listen, extolling her virtues and divine origin. He demanded respect and admiration from the villagers, expecting them to treat Nyasha with the reverence he felt she deserved. Madhu's arrogance began to alienate the villagers. Friends and neighbors who once shared a close bond with him began to distance themselves, whispering about his growing conceit. His family felt the strain as well. Naya, always patient and loving, tried to counsel him, but Madhu dismissed her concerns. One day, while Madhu was working in the fields, a storm suddenly broke. The sky darkened and thunder rumbled ominously. Caught off guard, Madhu rushed to protect his crops. As he struggled against the wind and rain, he slipped and fell, hitting his head on a rock. When he awoke, he found himself in a strange, dreamlike realm. The same spirit that had visited him before now stood before him, her eyes filled with grief and disappointment. "Madhu," she said, her voice echoing in the void. "You have forgotten the lesson I tried to teach you. Your pride has blinded you, and you have lost sight of what truly matters." Madhu tried to protest, but the spirit silenced him with a wave of her hand. "Your daughter is a blessing, but she is not a trophy. You have treated her as a symbol of your own greatness, not as a gift to be cherished. The gods are not pleased." Tears filled Madhu's eyes as he realized the truth of her words. He had allowed his pride to consume him, and in doing so, he had hurt those he loved most. When Madhu awoke, he found himself lying in his field, the storm having passed. His head throbbed, but his heart was filled with a newfound determination. He knew he had to change, to make amends for the pain he had caused. He returned home, burdened with guilt and determination. That evening, he gathered his family around the fire and met each of their eyes in turn. "My beloved family," he began, his voice shaking. "I have been a fool. I let my pride blind me, and I have hurt you all. Nyasha, you are a blessing, but you are not my trophy. You are my daughter, and I love you for who you are, not what you are." Nyasha's eyes filled with tears as she hugged her father tightly. Chima, Obi and Kofi looked at their father with a mixture of relief and hope. Nia's eyes shone with tears of joy. From that day on, Madhu strove to be a better man. He treated his children with equal love and respect, recognizing their individual worth. He sought to rebuild his relationships with his sons and regain their trust and affection. He became a humble and grateful man, always remembering the words of the Spirit. As the years passed, Madhu's family grew stronger and closer. Nyasha blossomed into a wise and compassionate young woman, beloved by all who knew her. Madhu's farm thrived, and the villagers once again embraced him as a friend and neighbor. In time, Madhu realized that true blessings are not measured by pride or status, but by the love and gratitude we hold in our hearts. In that love, he found the peace and fulfillment he had long sought. Years had passed since Madhu's transformation, and the village of Ntabo had flourished. The once fractured relationships within Madhu's family had healed, and peace reigned in their household. But life is seldom a straight path, and another test soon loomed on the horizon. One hot afternoon, as the village prepared for the harvest festival, a woman arrived on the outskirts of Ntabo. She was tall and regal, with skin the color of rich mahogany and eyes that seemed to hold the wisdom of the ages. She introduced herself as Amale, a healer and seer from a faraway land. Amale was warmly welcomed by the villagers, who were always eager to receive and learn from guests. She brought with her herbs and potions, knowledge of the stars, and a deep connection to the spiritual world. When Madhu heard of her arrival, he invited her to stay in his home. That evening, as the family sat around the fire, Amali told stories of her travels and the people she had helped. Her presence was comforting, and her words carried a weight that spoke of deep understanding and empathy. "Madhu," Amale said, her voice soft yet firm, "I sense a great strength in you and your family. But I also sense a lingering shadow, a challenge that has yet to fully reveal itself. Be vigilant and remember the lessons you have learned." Madhu nodded, feeling a mixture of gratitude and concern. He had come to respect the wisdom of those who could see beyond the physical world, and he took Amale's words seriously. That night, Madhu was visited by a disturbing dream. He found himself in a dark forest, the air thick with an oppressive silence. He wandered through the trees, feeling a growing sense of dread. Suddenly, he came to a clearing where a fierce storm was raging. In the center stood Nyasha, surrounded by swirling winds and flickering lightning. "Madhu," A voice echoed through the storm. It was the spirit who had visited him before, her voice now filled with urgency. "Your daughter is in danger. The shadow that looms over her is strong, and you must be prepared to face it. Trust in your family and the bonds you have forged. Together, you can overcome this trial." Madhu awoke with a start, his heart pounding. He knew he could not ignore the warning. The next morning, he gathered his family and shared his dream with them. Nyasha looked at her father with wide, worried eyes, while Nia and the boys listened intently. "What should we do, father?" Chima asked, his voice calm but worried. "We must stay together," Madhu replied. "Whatever this shadow is, we will face it together. Amale's presence here may not be a coincidence. We should seek her guidance." Amale listened intently as Madhu recounted his dream. She closed her eyes, lost in thought, and then slowly nodded. "Dreams are powerful messages from the spirits, Madhu. They guide us through the invisible world. We must be careful and vigilant." She instructed the family to perform a series of rituals to strengthen their bond and protect their home. They gathered sacred herbs and performed cleansing ceremonies, with each member participating wholeheartedly. Despite their efforts, a sense of unease settled over the village. Animals began to behave erratically, crops showed signs of wilting, and a pervasive sense of foreboding hung in the air. It was as if the land itself was responding to an unseen threat. Funtaitste one evening, as the family gathered for dinner, a loud knock echoed through the house. Madhu opened the door to find a small boy, breathless and terrified. "Please," the boy gasped. "My mother is very sick. She's calling for help and I don't know what to do." Without hesitation, Madhu and Amale followed the boy to his house. Inside, they found his mother, a woman named Amina, writhing in pain, her skin pale and clammy. Amale knelt beside her, gently placing her hands on Amina's forehead. "This is no ordinary illness," Amale said gravely. "It is the work of dark forces." Amale quickly prepared a mixture of herbs and began chanting softly. Madhu and the boy watched anxiously as she worked. Gradually, Amina's breathing calmed and the color returned to her cheeks. She opened her eyes, weak but aware. "Thank you," she whispered. "I felt like a shadow was choking the life out of me." Amale nodded. "The darkness we felt has begun to reveal itself. This is only the beginning. We must prepare for what is to come." In the days that followed, Amale and the villagers worked tirelessly to uncover the source of the dark force. They discovered that a powerful sorcerer named Malachi, who had been banished from a neighboring village for his evil practices, had taken refuge in the nearby forest. His presence had corrupted the land and endangered the lives of the people of Entabo. Madhu, Amale, and a group of brave villagers decided to confront Malachi. They prepared themselves with protective charms and made their way into the forest. The journey was fraught with danger, but their resolve was unshakable. The forest was dense and dark, the air thick with an unnatural chill. As they ventured deeper, the sense of foreboding grew. Finally, they reached a clearing where Malachi stood, surrounded by a swirling vortex of dark energy. "Madhu of Entabo," Malachi sneered, his eyes glowing with malice. "I have heard of you and your precious daughter. Do you think you can stop me?" "We do not fear you, Malachi," Madhu declared, his voice calm. "Your evil will not harm my family or my village." Amale stepped forward, her presence radiant. "Malachi, your darkness has no place here. We stand united, and the light of our spirits will overcome your shadow." With a roar of rage, Malachi unleashed a torrent of dark magic. But Madhu, Amale, and the villagers stood firm, their protective charms glowing with a brilliant light. They fought back with all their might, the battle intense and fierce. Back in the village, Nyasha felt the intensity of the battle and began to pray fervently. Her connection to the spirits was strong, and she called upon their help to protect her family and friends. As the battle raged, Madhu's thoughts turned to his family, and his love for them fueled his determination. He remembered the lessons he had learned about humility and gratitude and drew strength from those memories. Amale chanted powerful incantations, her voice echoing through the clearing. The villagers, inspired by their leaders, joined in, their collective will forming a barrier against Malachi's dark magic. Slowly but surely, the tide began to turn. The light of their charms grew brighter, pushing back the darkness. Malachi's power waned, his sneer turning to a snarl of desperation. In a last desperate attempt, Malachi unleashed his most powerful spell. But the combined power of Madhu, Amale, and the villagers was too much. The light surged forward, enveloping Malachi in its brilliance. With a final agonized cry, he was consumed by the light, his dark presence fading into nothingness. The forest fell silent, the oppressive darkness lifted. The villagers breathed a sigh of relief, their exhaustion mixed with triumph. They had faced the darkness and emerged victorious. Amale smiled, her eyes filled with pride and gratitude. "You have done well, Madhu. Your love for your family and your village saved us all." Madhu nodded, his heart swelling with a mixture of emotions. He had faced his darkest fears and emerged stronger. He knew that this victory was not his alone, but a testament to the strength and unity of his family and village. As they made their way back to Ntabo, the villagers sang songs of celebration and gratitude. They had faced the shadow and prevailed, their bond stronger than ever. Back in the village, Nyasha ran to her father and hugged him tightly. "Father, I prayed for you," she said, her eyes shining with tears. "I knew you would come back to us." Madhu hugged her, his heart full. "Thank you, Nyasha. Your prayers gave me strength. We faced the darkness together and came out into the light." With Malachi defeated, the village of Ntabo began its journey of recovery. Crops began to thrive and animals returned to their peaceful ways. The villagers, now more united than ever, worked together to rebuild and strengthen their community. Amale stayed on for a while, sharing her knowledge of healing and protection. She became a beloved figure whose wisdom and kindness left a lasting impression on the villagers. Madhu, having learned the value of humility and unity, continued to lead his family with love and gratitude. He cherished every moment with Nia, Nyasha, Chima, Obi, and Kofi, knowing that their bond was their greatest strength. As days turned into months and months into years, the story of their triumph over Malachi became a treasured tale passed down through generations. It served as a reminder of the power of love, unity, and the strength that comes from facing the darkness together. And so the village of Ntabo thrived, its people living in harmony with each other and the land, ever vigilant and ever grateful for the blessings they had. Life in Ntabo continued to flourish, and with each passing season, the bonds within the community grew stronger. Madhu's family was at the center of this renewed spirit, their story inspiring others to face their challenges with courage and unity. Nyasha grew into a wise and compassionate young woman, admired by all for her kindness and intelligence. She had a natural affinity for the healing arts, and under Amale's guidance she became a skilled healer, her presence a beacon of hope for the villagers. Chima, Obi, and Kofi, now young men, worked alongside their father, contributing to the prosperity of their farm and the village. They had grown strong and responsible, their hearts full of the lessons they had learned from their father's journey. It was time for the annual Harvest Festival, a celebration that now took on even greater significance for the people of Ntabo. It was a time to give thanks for the blessings of the past year and to strengthen the bonds within the community. The village was adorned with colorful decorations, and the air was filled with the aroma of delicious food. Music and laughter echoed through the streets as people prepared for the celebration. Madhu and his family were at the center of the preparations, their home a hub of activity. As the sun set and the festival began, the villagers gathered in the central square, their hearts beaming with joy. Amali, standing next to Madhu, raised her hands to silence the crowd. People of Ntabo, she began, her voice carrying through the night. We gather here to celebrate not only the harvest, but the strength and unity of our community. Together we have faced the darkness and emerged into the light. Let us always remember the power of love and unity. The crowd erupted in cheers, their spirits soaring. Madhu looked around at the smiling faces, his heart swelling with pride and gratitude. He knew their journey was far from over, but he was confident that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. As the festival continued, a sense of peace settled over Ntabo. The villagers danced and sang, their joy a testament to their resilience. But in the midst of the celebration, a quiet figure stood at the edge of the crowd, watching with keen eyes. It was an old woman, her face etched with the signs of a long and hard life. She watched the festivities with a mixture of curiosity and nostalgia. She had travelled far to reach Ntabo, drawn by the tales of the village's triumph over the darkness. As night fell, she approached Madhu, who was resting by the fire. "Greetings, Madhu," she said, her voice hoarse but firm. Madhu looked up, surprised at the stranger's presence. "Greetings, elder. How may I be of service?" "I am Zola," the woman replied. "I have come a long way to see the village that defeated Malachi. I was once a friend of his, long before he turned to darkness. I want to understand what happened and pay my respects." Madhu nodded, his heart heavy with the weight of the past. "You are welcome here, Zola. Please join us and share your story." Zola sat by the fire, her eyes far away as she began her story. "Malachi and I were once apprentices to a great healer. We learned the ways of the spirits and the secrets of the earth. But Malachi's heart was always restless. He sought power beyond what our teacher offered." She paused, her eyes filled with sadness. "He delved into dark magic, believing it would give him the strength he desired. I tried to dissuade him, but his ambition consumed him. When our teacher discovered Malachi's actions, he was cast out. I stayed behind, hoping to continue our teacher's work, but I never forgot my friend." Zola looked at Madhu, her gaze piercing. "When I heard of Malachi's defeat, I felt a mixture of relief and sadness. I came to Ntabo to understand the strength that overcame him, to find peace for myself, and perhaps for Malachi's spirit." Madhu listened intently, his heart aching at the pain in Zola's voice. "You are welcome here, Zola. We have been through much, and we have learned that true strength comes from unity and love. Stay with us, and perhaps you will find the peace you seek." Zola chose to stay in Ntabo and became a respected elder and source of wisdom for the villagers. She shared her knowledge of healing and the spirits, and worked closely with Amali and Nyasha. Through her presence, the village continued to grow and learn, drawing strength from both the past and the present. As the years passed, Ntabo flourished, a shining example of resilience and unity. The story of Madhu and his family became a cherished legend, a reminder of the power of love and the importance of humility. Thank you, my dear friend, for joining me on this journey. If you enjoyed these stories, please support us by subscribing to the channel. I look forward to reading your thoughts in the comments.